World Para Archery Championships.
We're here this afternoon with the different category from the category that we had this morning with the W1 archers. So the W1 category is a category where archers shoot with a number of aids depending on their level of impairment, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along.
Sounds good. We've got a sunny day. Well, the clouds. We started the morning with an overcast sky, and the sun's trying to break through. It's warming up, but it's not extremely hot yet at this point in time. We've virtually no wind at all in the venue, and we've been fortunate all week long. We have not experienced much wind at all.
No, and I think the lack of wind has been really good for some of the archers. We've had a world record set here, at least one world record that I know of set here, and good conditions always help that kind of thing.
We've had some extremely good high-level results across the board, across all of our disciplines, and it bodes well for the organization, and it bodes well for the preparation that the archers have put in. This is pretty much the end of the archery season, the outdoor archery season for most of our athletes. We're starting this afternoon, as Pippa mentioned, with the W1 recurve and compound men's team competition, and entering the field we
will have Italy and we'll have Korea for the bronze medal match.
3 people to a team. All of the participants on the team have qualified at the same time. They are using all of the same type of equipment, even though in this category the archer does have the option to choose whether to shoot a compound or a recurve, right?
Yes, they do, and this is because the level of impairment is higher for these athletes. They have the choice of which bow to shoot depending on which one suits them better. And although all of the archers today are shooting a compound bow, they do have that option. If, for example, they found a compound bow physically too heavy for them to hold up, so they'll shoot a number of assistive devices, but all W1 athletes shoot from a wheelchair. So this morning we saw an open class where we had some standing archers, some shooting from stools and some from a wheelchair, but all of the W1s will shoot from a wheelchair because their impairment is greater than the categories that we saw this morning. And just as I was saying this morning, that's all done on a medical assessment, and you'll see that some of these archers are actually have straps that hold them into their wheelchair, and that's to help with their balance, and the other categories don't have that.
Or they have limited amounts available to them. It's it's fairly restrictive. The use of assistive devices is to make sure that the athlete is provided an equal opportunity to compete with those that are classified similar to themselves, but not to gain an advantage in the competitive sense. It is just to make sure they've got stability, or if one leg happens to be shorter than the other, they've got a lift under one foot.
It's about making sure they don't fall out of their wheelchairs for one thing, but also it's about making a level playing field, making it fair for everybody. People may see that there's a coach who is sat right next to a member of the Italian team, and this is because the gentleman in question has probably have something like poor hand function and finds it very difficult to put the arrow on the bow himself, and so he's allowed an assistant just to help him do that. He's not there to coach the archer, so he's not there to give an advantage, but he's just there to load the arrow on the bow to make it easier for the guy to compete on a level playing field.
So we're underway. The first signal has started for the afternoon. Should be
Korea shooting first, I think.
Yes.
The W1 competition is held at 50 meters, the same as the compound competition, but they have target face that's slightly different, because the compound competition they have they only score out to the 6 zone, whereas just like the recurves, the W1s have a 10 zone scoring. So I don't expect these archers to use the 1 or the 2, but the target face is the same as the recurves. It's a nice 9.
9-1.
How many arrows is each team shooting, Pippa?
It's I was going to say it's 150 arrows, but that's not what I that's not what I meant at all. It's it's a maximum score of 150 that the team can get, not 150 arrows. Okay. So each of the archers will shoot 2 arrows to make up the first end, and it's not a set system like we saw with the recurves this morning. They're shooting for total score at the end of them 5 ends, 4 ends.
But we're seeing the alternating shooting just like we did this morning.
Yes.
Just a different method of tallying the score.
Great turn. So they are a unique category in that the target face looks exactly the same as the recurves, but it's smaller and closer. It's at 50 meters, but it's a smaller target face, and they're shooting a compound bow. So there are similarities, but there are differences. So they are a unique class all of their own.
And the move to the full-size 80-centimeter face is a recent one for World Archery. I think it was done to establish a little bit more of a distance and a difference between some of the compound open athletes we'll see tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I think for 2 reasons, and also because you have some archers in this class who are more impaired, it may be that they're more likely to score although we're looking at elite athletes and high quality scoring, but due to medical conditions, they may find they're more likely to get a 5 or a 4. And if they don't have the scoring zone all the way out to the 1, then that would be 5 or 4 points that they would lose altogether. Whereas the compound open category, where the athletes are less impaired, you wouldn't expect to see that much variation in the scores. Although right at the moment, we're not seeing very much variation in the scores at all.
No. We're keeping them inside the red.
Yeah.
So,
but it's to allow for all of the athletes, even those who aren't right at this elite level, to be able to compete.
One more in to go.
Oh, it's a 9.
Close
Italy
match.
take the first end. Korea went down to the last second on the clock there.
Just as they say, under the wire.
Yeah.
On target 1, Italy, that is our finished final score of 21 points, and Korea 49 points.
So it seems like it's a more complicated category in some ways, but it's still just shooting arrows and trying to hit the middle of the target. But the category exists for people who would find it really hard to compete against open compounds or open recurves. And that's just about making that little bit of adjustment. We were talking earlier about sport for all, and this really proves that there is archery for everybody.
Again, archery is easy to adapt for people with disabilities of a lot of different kinds. Even some of the developmental disabilities adapt well to archery because of the strictness, and when I say strictness, because of the regimentality of the sport, in that the objective is to do the same thing, arrow after arrow, and end after end, event after event, and that plays well to some.
The Italian team have gone into the lead here, but they've had a journey through. They've taken out China in the quarterfinals and Turkey in the semi-finals, but actually they were ranked 4th in qualification, and the Koreans were ranked 3rd. So on the face of it, you might think the Koreans would win, but as we can see, the Italians are in the lead. And this is a cumulative total, so every end and every arrow counts.
6-6-1.
Korea struggling just a little bit at the start of this end. Still opportunities to pick up the pace and get close. There you go.
Yeah, that's a
get
nice
closer to
line.
the middle.
9-1.
So all sorts of ways that a W1 archer might release an arrow. Some of them can hold a release aid and use what looks like a fairly ordinary release aid. Other people would have something that hooks over the string and they might twist their wrist in order to activate the release. There's all kinds of adaptations that you can do.
There's also an item called a mouth tab, isn't there?
Yes, there is. So we have people who will shoot by holding a tab between their back teeth, not their front teeth. And that's permanently fixed to the string, and they draw the bow back by actually holding the tab in their mouth, pushing their front arm out, and then opening their mouth to release the string. And we've had guys win Olympic medals like that.
It's one of the interesting things about para archery that's different from able-bodied archery, and there's a different dynamics with the mouth tab. It's not exactly like shooting with your fingers, and it's not exactly like shooting with a release, although it is closer to shooting with a release. But one of the things that happens with a bowstring when it's released, it creates a paradox. In other words, it oscillates on its way towards the bow, and depending on whether you're releasing the bow with the string with your fingers or with the release or with the mouth tab, depends on, well, you'll see the evidence of that when you slow it down in very, very, very high speed filming, and see which way the string oscillates as it goes forward.
It's quite interesting to look at that, and in fact there's a load of videos out there on the internet that you can go and search out if you want to and watch slow motion bows. But yeah, it's quite fascinating, the amount of, and also the amount of vibration through the whole bow. The Italian team there have a group high in the target. I don't know why they all seem to be shooting high as a team. It's a great group.
It is a very nice group. Yeah, I just wonder if they're aware of it as they need to be. Make an adjustment. We got a couple arrows down there on both sides of the lane that are questionable. An asterisk behind the score means that the spotter was not able to definitively call the arrow. There you go. Somebody made an adjustment in their sight. And it's always initially called when you can't make a determination from the spotter's perspective, you call the arrow the lowest value and put the asterisk behind it. And so there's an opportunity. Right now, it looks like Korea picked up a point. Depends again on how those two questionable arrows. Korea's got one, and Italy has one as well.
So that might. It depends. If Italy get theirs and Korea don't get theirs, then they'll have scored the same for that end. So there's not very much in it in terms of points anyway. And in fact, all of these guys look really calm out there. None of them look nervous. Even when they came past the commentary position here, wheeling out onto the field, and they all look really up for this match.
They've had all morning to watch their friends and fellow competitors out here on the venue, see what kind of reactions or implications it had for being in the venue. Nobody This venue was, when I say this venue, the finals area was just set up within the last couple days. So they come onto this field cold. They don't get an opportunity to practice on this field before they roll out here for a match.
Yeah.
Now there's a practice area adjacent to this.
So Italy's arrow was stayed the same on that end. So at the moment we have, since Italy had taken the first end scoring, we have a 96 to Italy, 95 to Korea.
Close match.
It's going to be a close match. Well, starting with a 9, that's starting as you mean to go on. So a lot of these guys will have slightly different stabilizer choices. They'll choose something that's lighter in their hand because their balance is very poor. So if you put a very heavy bow in the hand of somebody whose balance is really poor, then it's really difficult for them to hold it up. So you see more kind of carbon bows and really lightweight long rods, sometimes lightweight sights.
That's a nice
good
shot.
shooting, 998.
It's got to be tough being that archer's assistant, right on the line next to his athlete, and not able to say much.
Yeah, not allowed to coach, just to sit there to load the arrows. So the only person who's allowed to give coaching instruction, who's on the field to play at the moment, is the coach that's currently stood in the box behind the shooting area. And they're not allowed out of their box while the archers are shooting. You can just see them standing at the back.
Okay. All tied up for the first 3 arrows for each team.
It's a nice shot.
7, team 1.
I thought it was a better shot than a 7. He had a great follow through. It's a really good example of the kind of lightweight long rod. Good 9.
Nicely shot.
I'm not certain what the current world record is for the W1 team, but I know that Italy scored 215 against Turkey, and that's a pretty good score.
That was a pretty significant win for them in the
Yes.
semifinals. They
Yeah,
did really put it away.
and in fact, part of the Turkish team, I think, is the current Paralympic champion.
Nice group.
I'm not certain if it's Paralympic champion or world champion. It's certainly, a really high-scoring athlete. So, so they did well. I think Italy might go back into the lead here. Yeah, wow, great shot. That's a really nice end.
5 out of 6 arrows in the gold.
Yeah. 53, that's almost a 9-point average.
Just one shy of a 9 average. Picked up 5 points. Waiting for confirmation on those 5 points.
And we'll see what will be the next end result.
But we don't have any questionable arrows out there. It looked like the spotter was able to get a good read on all of the arrows. We've had a nice week here in Beijing. The weather has been cooperative. We have not suffered through a lot of wind. No rain to speak of, maybe a little bit of sprinkles. Generally speaking, overcast for the most part.
Yeah, I think it's been hot, but not so hot as to be dangerous for the athletes, because of course doing archery in a qualification round, you're outside for a very long period of time, and I think it's good then when you get these really perfect conditions.
Starting end number 4. And we've got Italy leading the match by 5 points over Korea. Same process here as we saw this morning. The team with the lowest cumulative score.
That's an
excellent way to start the end. Is the team that starts out the match. I'm sorry, the team that starts out the succeeding ends as you move through the match. And go ahead.
The Korean who just shot, he actually won the silver medal in the W1 mixed team in Rio. So he has some experience. It's maybe why he looks so calm right now.
They've put 2 nice shots down there right now. Maybe they're finally finding their groove.
Yeah, maybe. I notice, they have 120 seconds for the 6 arrows, and the Koreans, they're taking like 60 seconds for 3 arrows. So they really come down to the clock in the end, using all the time. He looks a little frustrated at that one.
I would not be happy with that myself. It's been a long spell since I've shot last time, but
back in the 9.
Not the greatest of release and follow through on that one for the first Italian.
In this shot here, you can quite clearly see the strap that he needs in order to keep his balance in the chair while he shoots. Because a bow is a heavy thing when you hold it out in front of you at arm's length. It's a lot of weight to pull on you.
Not only weight to pull the bow back, but just mass weight to hold it up.
That's what I mean.
This is the last half of the last end.
That's quite close.
Last arrow for Korea.
That's a 9. Korea end on 196. So the Italians need to score 23 points with those 3 arrows to tie.
Just a little over an 8 average, or a little under an 8 average, I'm sorry. Well within their means.
That's
and there's a 9. Italians have a good cheering squad here. They brought a full team. They did.
14 points from these two archers. Oh, another 9. See, that's performing under pressure, isn't it?
It is. They started out this end 5 points up, but they're not just resting on that.
No.
They're still trying to
18 seconds to shoot the final arrow. Anchorman gets ready to shoot. And puts a 9 on.
A 9.
That's the bronze medal for Italy. Wow, that was really good shooting from Italy. I think they should be really proud of that performance, because they were just so solid right the way through.
Okay. So just one low end and around the one lower end, but averaging 50,
Yeah.
50 points or more in 3 out of the 4 ends.
But they really did look kind of just like they really held it together, you know, really kind of calm. So fantastic. Great news for Italy, who are the winners of the bronze medal here in Beijing at the Para Archery World Championships for the W1 men's team category. And Korea, well, they'll have to try again next time. There's some happy guys.
Going home with some hardware.
That's a really great feeling, you know, winning a medal, winning any medal, winning a bronze medal is great. Just seeing them go past us here,
All
waving
smiles.
his fist in the air, really